Okay, so I've got the Kansas City Chiefs depth chart up here. So I'll just go through it, get my thoughts on each position group and the players that they got, and then just give kind of my thoughts on how good I think the team will be next year. So the receiver position to start off with, they got Tyreek Hill, one of the best deep threats in the league. Kind of unguardable at points just because of his game-breaking speed. He's just so good. Like, kind of attracts the whole defense away from like towards him. I mean, I was about to say away from him. That'd be absolute cap. So just amazing receiver, true number one receiver. Really developed well. People really didn't like him coming out of college because I thought he had character concerns and all that. And he's been fine. Like, he's a very good receiver. Amazing weapon for Patrick Mahomes. So I really like that. Another really good deep threat. Probably number one, number two fastest players in the league, McCole Hardman. So they just got a bunch of speed on their offense, especially at the receiver position with McCole Hardman. They're not as good as a route runner, definitely. Definitely not as good as a player as Tyreek Hill in total. Just Tyreek Hill's just a beast at everything. But, I mean, McCole Hardman still has a lot of flashes. Just hasn't really been that consistently good. Probably needs to do some more to kind of get that number two role. I think he has a good chance next year, though. We'll kind of be able to see what he can do. And Demarcus Robinson could be the slot. It's going to be him or Cornell Powell. I did like the Cornell Powell pick. I don't know how good Demarcus Robinson can really be for this offense. I think he's kind of reached his ceiling just as an average slot receiver, returner type of player. He's not really an amazing player. So I could definitely see Cornell Powell, the player who they drafted out of Clemson, who was a pretty decent player in college. I think he has a good chance to take that third receiver role. Even if he doesn't, being a fourth or fifth receiver, I think that's still very good for Cornell Powell's progression and just role in this offense. I think he can get some good playing time. And I mean, Patrick Mahomes could definitely get him the ball. He's another really good, speedy, kind of more underneath player, which they kind of need. They probably need more intermediate, but I guess Tyreek Hill does everything. So I guess you could add Cornell Powell to that offense. I think that would be very nice. Even Byron Pringle's pretty decent at points. Like, people really like him. He definitely has a chance to like get up the depth chart. Not really much other notable players like Antonio Callaway, another deep threat who's struggled with injuries and all field stuff. So he has a good chance to revitalize his career and maybe make the roster. So it's kind of interesting receiver group. A lot of speed. So that's pretty nice. I think they could use another good second receiver. I don't really know how good their second receivers will be, but we'll have to see. And then offensive lineman, Orlando Brown they traded for. I mean, it's a really good player to get. I didn't really love the trade, to be honest, because you're going to have to pay Orlando Brown. And with all the tackles that they could have got at the point that they were at in the draft, there's amazing tackles available. Like, they could have got Tevin Jenkins and stuff, and Sam McCallsme, but they probably didn't know that those guys were going to be there. I didn't. I thought that they would go earlier. But still, I guess Orlando Brown, I mean, in a year or two time, you're going to have to pay him probably quite a lot of money that he's going to ask for, and it's going to be hard for the Chiefs because they don't really got a ton of cap, but he will really improve that offensive line position after cutting the players that they got, and he'll be very good starting there, so I like it. Left guard, no, leave. Joe Thuney, left guard. Yeah, very good left guard. They paid him a ton of money. Still a really good player. So I thought that was another really good improvement to offensive line. Get a really reliable player. Nick Allegretti and Trey Smith are good backups. Like, Trey Smith, they got him in like the 6th or 7th round. That was just a steal. He has some he has some really good traits really to just be a good guard. I thought he could have be a starter like before all this stuff came out. But still, getting him in the 6th round, that's very good. He'll be a really good backup for you. Some good depth. Center, they got Austin Blythe this year. I'm pretty sure Creed Humphrey has a good chance to start straight away. I think Creed Humphrey's probably a better player than Austin Blythe. Austin Blythe hasn't been a good center in the league. And Creed Humphrey was probably the best center in the draft last year. Yeah, he definitely was. I mean, him and Nah, I think I prefer Landon Dickerson a bit more. But where they got him, he went after Josh Myers. That was just stupid. So they got a really good center and Creed Humphrey, just too good to pass up on and kind of get the future center. I really like that for, I mean, the whole offense. Kyle Long, right guard, has a good chance to start there. I think, I mean, Laurent Duvernay Tardif is coming back. So he'd probably start there because he was a pretty decent guard before he went um, to Canada for COVID to become a doctor. So I think Tardif probably takes back that right guard position, and Kyle Long either takes the right tackle position, which have right Mike Remmers lifted up, which isn't a horrible player to start there. I mean, Kyle Long could be better. Like, he was good before he retired, but he hasn't played in a while, so we'll just have to see him and Kyle Long. Kyle Long and Mike Remmers probably bad at that. Right, Mike Remmers could be a pretty decent tackle against average players, pretty much. If he comes up against anybody good, probably not amazing. And they've got two really good depth players, Lucas Niang, Prince Tega, and Winagu got some good traits. He could be a good player. Even Yasir Duran, Andrew Wiley, Darrell Williams. They got good depth. Their O-line's probably one of the best in the leagues now. So that's good. Tight end position, Travis Kelce, yeah, one of the best tight ends in the league. Top two tight ends. Him and George Kittle, definitely the top two. No argument, really. Travis Kelce, really good receiving option. Just another really good weapon for Patrick Mahomes. Like, him and Tyreek Hill work well, really, together, so I like that. The second tight end, they got Nick Keiser listed here. He's just not really amazing. Same with Blake Bell. I think Noah Gray, who they drafted, has a good chance to take that second tight end role because they don't really got much competition. Probably Noah Gray and Nick Keiser. I'm definitely saying it's right. It's like Kaiser or something, Kaiser, whatever. I'll just call him Kaiser because that just seems normal. But Noah Gray from Duke, he was a pretty decent prospect. I thought it was a bit of a reach where they drafted him. But I think Noah Gray has a chance to be a good complement to Travis Kelce. And they kind of needed another tight end because they lost players and just have nobody really there. Quarterback position, Patrick Mahomes, of course, best quarterback in the league. Not really much to say, just a really good player. Chad Henney's actually a pretty decent veteran backup. Like, really smart player, just good veteran, so I like that. Anthony Gordon and Shane Buechele, two young players. I mean, Shane Buechele has a good chance to make the roster as a third quarterback. I think he probably beats out Anthony Gordon. He's just a better prospect. Like, Shane Buechele wasn't a bad prospect. I think he could be a good backup in the league for a long time. Kind of like a Chase Daniel comp. Just kind of a reliable backup, I think he can be. So, I mean, maybe learning from Patrick Mahomes and Chad Henne could be a pretty good situation for Shane Buechele. Running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they drafted last year. Definitely would have drafted him and where they drafted him in the first round. I know it was the end of the first round. But it's just, look at their needs they had coming into the draft now. After they just took a luxury pick in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then they have all these needs. Like, they could have got an edge rusher or something with it. So I didn't love it, but he can still be a good running back. He wasn't that impressive, like running the ball primarily. Kind of better in the passing game, being a receiving back. So that's kind of his role and like what fits him best. But he's still pretty good at that. And then Darrell Williams, a good compliment to him. I think he could get some good snaps at the running back position. It's probably going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams. I could see Jerick McKinnon because he was pretty decent when he got some snaps last year when he wasn't injured. It's just if he can stay healthy, I think he could be pretty productive at running back. So I could see him. I also got Elijah McGuire, kind of more of a special team, might not make the roster. And Darwin Thompson, he could definitely make the roster as a fourth running back possibly. Or maybe a third. I think Jerick McKinnon has a good chance to be the second or third running back. And then Mike Burton, fullback, he's pretty decent, and he was last year. So that's fine. And then defense, Taco Charlton as their defensive end. Not amazing, as I accidentally just freaking switched to another thing. Yeah, he's not amazing, but he has been alright there for the Chiefs since coming there. So he has shown some good play. Definitely not as a number one pass rusher. That's definitely not what you want as your other pass rusher opposite of Frank Clark, who's decent, kind of only really shows amazing play in the playoffs. Like regular season is kind of mediocre for him usually. But he's still pretty decent pass rusher. Probably doesn't deserve the amount of money he gets, but still all right to start there on your defensive. But I do think he needs another good complement like Tim Ward. Probably not going to be their starter. Like Joshua Kaindoa, he's kind of more of a developmental player. Like he's not ready to really get a ton of starting snaps. So I mean, it's probably going to be Taco Char. I think they could possibly sign a veteran pass rusher, like maybe getting Justin Houston back or Melvin Ingram. I think would both be good players they could get in there and just have these dudes as backups because that's kind of more of the role. Like Taco Char is not really going to be a starting pass rusher for most teams in the league, especially for a Super Bowl contender. But I think Joshua Kaindoa in a few years could turn into a good pass rusher because he's a really good athlete. And Malik Herring also, that was a pretty good undrafted pickup. But they kind of just need a true number one pass rusher. They do have Chris Jones, who's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. He doesn't have a lot of help. I think they need to get him some more help. He's still amazing on his own right, so that's fine. Derek Natties was a pretty good player, kind of more of a run stopper. That's all right. John Reed, I thought, was actually a good free agency signing. They got him for a pretty decent contract. Also, I think it was like $4 million. He's a very decent defensive tackle. I think he could take that number 2 defensive tackle role and be very consistent. Kalen Saunders, pretty versatile player for that defensive tackle position. Good athlete. Like he was playing linebacker in that Week 17 game. That was just funny to see a big boy playing linebacker like that. That was crazy. Mike Dana is a bit bleak for that defensive end position. And then linebacker, Anthony Hitchens. Yeah, he could definitely start straight away. Kind of be more of that veteran player. Has a good chance, or they just roll with the 2 young players and Willie Gay, who they drafted last year, who just, to be honest, wasn't good, and Nick Bolton, who they drafted this year, I think is very pro-ready as a linebacker, probably out of most linebackers, so I thought that was a good pickup in the second round. They kind of needed to get another linebacker, and either way, they used 3 linebackers quite a decent amount of the time, so you just have Anthony Hitchens, Willie Gay, and Nick Bolton. They could all get some good playing time, so I think that'd be pretty decent. I think you roll with Anthony Hitchens and Nick Bolton and just wait for Willie Gay to develop more, or you just do it the opposite way around because Willie Gay has been there for a year longer. But I think Nick Bolton's a more complete player. Ben Neiman's a pretty good backup. Same with Dorian O'Donnell. They're pretty good as backups, so that's all right. The secondary now, Travaris Ward's a decent starting cornerback. He's nothing special. He's kind of just an average corner now. Hasn't really turned into an elite player. Just kind of average, decent starting corner who will get burnt sometimes, but still pretty consistent. They have L'Jarius Sneed, who they drafted last year as a safety. That's when he was coming out of college. And he turned into probably the best corner last year out of all the corners. He was just very locked down, surprising. Like, he did not get beat a lot. And that was very surprising for a rookie corner coming from, I think it was Louisiana Tech. No, it wasn't, was it? It was one of the small Louisiana schools. That was crazy. So they got him there. Maybe it takes a bit of a step back because that rookie year was that good. But you definitely got yourselves a hopeful starting corner in L'Jarius Sneed. Rashawn Fenton is also a pretty decent back, like third corner possibly. I think that's a pretty good player there. So that's fine. They could probably use another corner. Like Rashawn Fenton could start in the slot. They got Mike Hughes, who they picked up, who's just not been that good for Minnesota. He has been a starter at points, kind of dealt with injuries and stuff. He definitely has a chance to take a starting cornerback position. It's probably not the best, like the ideal situation for them. I think Rashawn Fenton, L'Jarius Sneed, and Travaris Ward probably be your 3 corners. You can kind of rotate those dudes around. Like Ward can play a slot, same with Fenton's. But Mike Hughes as that backup corner, that 4th corner, you'll still use 4 corners quite a lot of the time. So I think that's good. DeAndre Baker, they picked him up from New York. He still has a lot of potential as being a former first-round pick. So we'll see with him. DiCaprio Butol, funny name. player who was undrafted. That's a good backup, I think. And then they got some young players that can maybe develop into something. We'll just have to see. Um, yeah, safety position. Tyrann Mathieu, of course, at that safety. He's very good. He's more of a free safety. I mean, he kind of plays that slot for them quite a few times because they kind of only really run two corners mostly. But when they probably bring in that third corner, it'll probably be Rashad Fenton. But it's usually just going to be L'Jarius Sneed and Travaris Atwell, and then like Tyrann Mathieu down there, kind of patrolling that middle of the defense, covering that slot, tight end, just whatever. He's just a really good all around player. So Tyrann Mathieu, that safety position, that's definitely a good player. So that's very good for them. They do have Daniel Sorensen listed as their free safety. He's kind of a box linebacker, pretty much. He's pretty good, but he'll play that box linebacker, kind of rotate in there. Won't really drop back. He won't be a free safety for sure. He doesn't really do that. Plays more down in the box, but they do like him quite a lot. He is a pretty decent player, so he gets quite a lot of playing time, so that's decent. Juan Thornhill, though, will be their starter on the other safety position. He'll play that free safety because he'll stay back. When Tyrann Mathieu goes down into the box, you just want Juan Thornhill up top. That's a good player there. So that's good. You kind of need him in this defense when they're going to play a lot of players down at the line of scrimmage. Armani Watts, good backup. Will Parks actually has a good chance to get himself in the rotation. And that's kind of it, really. Some young players, some rookies. We'll just have to see. I mean, special teams, Tommy Townsend had a horrible Super Bowl, but he was a rookie. We'll just see if he can get better. Harrison Butker is a really good putter, so that's fine. Kick return, yeah, Mecole Hardman's a good kick returner. Tyreek, I mean, start of his career, who's like a punt returner, kick returner. Not really going to play that now, kind of being that number one receiver. Byron Pringle gets snaps there. He's pretty good at that. I mean, Demarcus Robinson, maybe Cornell Powell gets some of the snaps. He has a definite chance of doing that. Or like Elijah McGuire has kind of been his role, and Jerick McKinnon has done some of that. So they could go a lot of ways in their kick return game and punt return. So that's pretty intriguing for them. And I mean, overall, this team, they definitely got some needs. I think that other defensive edge rusher position is a very big need. Maybe another good veteran corner could be a good pickup. Maybe another defensive tackle, but they're pretty good there. Offensive line's good now. Receiver, you could improve on the players they got, but they got some talent, some young players that could develop. And that's kind of it, really. Maybe a running back, because the running position's not strong, but they got some talent. You don't really need to invest a lot in the running back position either, because when you've got a good offensive line like the Chiefs, their running game's probably going to be pretty good with the players they got. Like Darrell Williams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be very good next year, even Jerick McKinnon. So this team, they definitely got high expectations trying to run it back in the Super Bowl. They're definitely not got the best roster in the league. They're definitely up there. And I mean, they kind of, without Patrick Mahomes, they probably wouldn't be an amazing team, to be honest, because he kind of makes their team as good as they are. Him, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, does kind of their whole offense. I think they did improve on the in the offseason, but they also did lose some important players at some positions. So, I mean, and teams in the AFC just got better, like really good. So it's going to be hard for them to try and get back to that Super Bowl and hopefully win it this time, because the Browns are very good. The Ravens could be. There's so many teams that could be competing. But the Chiefs are early favorites just because they've been there 2 years in a row and have always been in contention, especially Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if I have them going to the Super Bowl this year. It's going to be very hard. We'll just have to see for the Chiefs. So that's kind of it. And I hope you enjoyed, and see ya.